Well, in the previous class, we have discussed about the few of the protocols that we use in the TCP/IP model. Like we have discussed about the ICMP, IGMP, and ARP, that is address resolution protocol, and so on. In case of the network layer, so all these basic protocols are used in the TCP/IP for the uh, network layer functions. Like if you compare that, we need routing and other tasks, that is host to host delivery of packets and other things. For that, we use the protocols here, like for finding the physical addresses and logical addresses like IP addresses and so on. We use this ARP and RARP and so on. So this we have discussed. So coming to the next layer, that is the transport layer, we have three protocols here: SCTP and TCP and UDP. So when you are writing in the examination, you will be writing about, instead of writing the task that is performed by the transport layer, you will be writing the task that will be performed by this particular protocols, because as we say that it is a protocol suite, or it consists of protocol hierarchies, or set of protocols are being implemented in the TCP/IP model. So you'll be writing in terms of the protocols. So what this UDP and TCP will do. So UDP is basically user datagram protocol. So it is simpler of the two standards of this TCP/IP, and it is used for the process to process communication. And it requires, when we say process to process, we require this port addressing and checksum and error control. All these are the basic functionalities that will be taken care by the UDP. And also it checks the length information of the data, what is the data size or what is the length of the data, that will be taken care by the UDP. I just repeat, the task of the UDP protocol is to have the process to process communication. That is, when I say a user is want to use a email service, to for that particular purpose, there should be always a port number. So to attach a port number, or what is the port address, identifying that port address and port number, and then finding the checksum. I think you have studied about the checksum, I guess. So when the data will be transferred, the total value of the that data will be added, and we check it for whether the same data we have received or no. So checksum will be done, and then the error control and the length information of that particular data, these will be taken care by the UDP protocol. And then the next one that we have is the TCP. So both this UDP and TCP are the transport level protocols, and this TCP provides services to applications, and it is a reliable stream transfer protocol, we can say, because basically it provides the stream of bits. And as we studied about these stream of data in terms of smaller units called as the segments. So the TCP is basically involved in collecting these smaller amount of data segments, or the smaller data units, that we call as the segment. And this each segment will include the sequence number, and also it checks for the ordering of these segments. Like we discussed that the source machine, whatever it sends the segments which says frequency number 1 2 3, the same has to be reached to the destination machine. So whether it receives the smaller segments in the same sequence or in the same order or no, all these will be taken care by this TCP. So the TCP collects each datagram as it comes in and reorders the transmission based on the sequence number. So basically it transmits these in the based on the So we're discussing about the task or the functions of this TCP. So UDP is meant for the process to process data transfer, and I mean for the port addressing, error detection, error control, and checksum. All these will be taken care by the UDP. And now TCP is for the it provides the services for the applications for reliable stream transport protocol. And the term stream in this context means that connection oriented. Basically TCP is a connection oriented service. So that is the main task of this TCP. And apart from that, what it basically does, it collects the data and it makes these smaller data units into segments, or we call them as the data segments. And each segment will consist of a unique number or a sequence number. So it basically, its task is to put a sequence number for all these data segments and send it from the source machine to the destination machine with a connection oriented approach. And when it these segments are received at the destination machine, again it checks for the proper sequence number, whether we are receiving the segments in the proper order or no, or if there is any or the data segments are shuffled, reordering should take place among those data segments so that we can have the data in a proper format as we as the machine has sent from the or we have received it from the source machine. So all this reordering and providing the sequence number for the uh, data segments, all this will be taken care by the TCP protocol. And apart from this, we have another protocol, that is SCTP. That is basically, it is used in the latest applications. So it provides, it basically means that it is stream control transmission protocol. It basically supports for the latest application or for the newer applications, like for if you are using voice communication or voice over the internet. For all this, we use this SCTP. So in the earlier days, we used only this UDP and TCP, but later on in the today's world, we'll be using all three protocols. Again, it depends which type of application you are running. According to that, these protocols will be used. And when we come to the application layer, you can see that all the tasks or the functionalities that we had in the presentation layer and session layer and the application layer, all will be combined, all have been combined, and they are put in one particular layer, that is the application layer. So here the task is going to remain same that we have in the OSI model, like it can be user login and other basic functionality that a user performs when he connects to the internet. So for that, we have different set of protocols like SMTP for simple mail transfer protocol, FTP for file sharing, okay, HTTP for hypertext transfer protocol, DNS domain name systems, Telnet for remote login. So for all these, we have different set of protocols, and they are meant for or they provide the basic functionality, or they provide basic services for the normal user who is interacting with the system or who is interacting with the internet or to the World Wide Web. So these are the different set of protocols that we will be using in the TCP IP. And again, when we discuss the next units, so we have the separate units based on the network layer and transport layer. There we are going to study actually how this connection orientation or connection establishment will take place, and what these protocols will do, their header format, there are how much data they can carry, and all other details we'll be studying in detail. Are we clear with this, everyone? Any doubts with this?
Yes, sir.
TCP IP? So your task is to compare the or write the differences between the OSI model and TCP IP protocol model. At least you can write 8 to 10 differences between the TCP IP model and the OSI model. So this is all the basic things that we had. So going to the next part, we'll be discussing about cellular telephony. So this is the second part of your first unit. Here we'll be studying about the cellular telephony. So what this cellular telephony is all about? So basically, cellular telephony is about how your cell phone communicates, or how the communication will take place with a mobile phone or a cell phone, with a stationary phone, or with a regular phone, or with a mobile phone. So this we'll be studying in brief, and we'll be studying some of the concepts that are involved in this cellular telephony, that is the transmission, receiving, and roaming. So these are the basic things that will occur, or these are the basic concepts that we should understand when we discuss about the cellular system or a telecommunication, we can say. So let us go ahead with this. And we have some of the generations, how the cellular telephone has evolved over the years, that we'll be studying. So basically, cellular telephony is designed to provide communication between uh, two moving units called the mobile stations. Like basically, why we call them as mobile phones? Because those phones or these type of smartphones we can carry out or we can use it even when we are traveling. So the objects or the phones that we are using, they are the moving objects. Okay, so we call them as the mobile phones. So the cellular telephony is designed to provide communication between two moving units called the mobile stations, or between one mobile unit and one stationary unit, often called a land unit. It can be used for, I mean, you can communicate from one cell phone to another cell phone, or you can communicate from one cell phone or one mobile phone to a regular telephone, okay, or a stationary phone. So for that purpose, we require this cellular telephony. So that is the basic thing about this cellular telephony. So how this uh, call will be connected and how we receive the call, how the connection establishment will take place, all this we are going to study in today's class. So let us take the basic diagram of a cellular telephony. So when we talk about this cellular telephony, we have something called as the cells here. So what are these cells basically are? So this MS stands for the mobile station. We call it as the mobile station. And to nearest to that we have some antennas, and or we can take the real example like our telephone towers. They are called as the base stations. Okay, so this base station and MS together we call it as a cell, and this we have represented with the hexagonal structure. So every hexagonal structure will have a base station, and this base station will provide the communication, or this will basically gives a communication for the different mobile stations. So here we have shown only one mobile station, or here there can be another mobile station and so on. So there can be a number of mobile stations, and to cover that particular region we'll be having this base stations, or we call it as the like antenna. And I mean it basically consists of transmitter, we call them as the trans receivers. So at the top of this antenna we will be having some device that we call as the trans receivers. So to receive the signals or to send the signals, we call them as the transmitters or receivers, or together we can call them as the trans receivers. Those will be put in this antenna, and when we want to connect or when we dial a number, that signal will pass and so on. So this is the understanding of what is a basically cell. And when we talk about this cellular system, we want to communicate in this particular diagram, we want to connect from one mobile station or from one particular cell phone to a stationary phone. So this can be a stationary phone, or it can be another cell as well. Or so again, there can be a possibility here. In this example, they have shown it as a stationary object, but it can be another uh, cell phone as well. Instead of this stationary phone, I may be communicating from one mobile station to another mobile station. So I can have this mobile station here, or and I can have at the center will be having the base station. Always this will be a at the center. Base station will be always placed towards the center of this cell. Okay, so that it can cover the region, or the signals will be transmitted in the circular fashion. So this will be placed in the middle, and this can be a MS, that is a mobile station, and this can be a base, that is the base station. So what we call this, the base station and the mobile station together we call it as a cell. So each cell contains an antenna and is controlled by a solar or AC power network station. So this base station basically contains an antenna and is controlled by a AC power network station, and each base station is controlled by a mobile switching center. So this base station, this will be controlled by a mobile switching center, or we call it as the MSC. So like here also base station we have, so this will be controlled by the mobile switching center. And that manages the communication between the base station and the telephone central office. So if you look into the real world example, this public switch telephone network or PSTN is nothing but our service provider or our main central office you can consider. So like our, if you consider it as a BSNL, we have the BSNL office at railway station. So that is our main telephone system that we have, and this will be a computerized one. So public switch telephone network PSTN that we have, it is a entirely computerized one that will manage whether the channel is available or whether the line is free or no, or taking the call recordings, and all others will be taken care by this public switch network, that is the PSTN. So this is the basic idea of this cellular system. Are we following it, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Others?
Yes, sir.
So basically how this basically works, or what this service provider will do. Basically this service provider, it can be a BSNL, it can be Idea, and so on. So these service providers locates and tracks a caller. So when they want to communicate, what they will do, they will track the caller, okay, to whom he is calling, or where is that particular mobile station, and if that is available, and then they will assign a channel. So there will be a bandwidth, okay, so between a mobile station and between this, there will be a something called as the bandwidth, okay. So the bandwidth can depends on that service provider. BSNL may give more bandwidth, or Idea may give less bandwidth, and so on. So this service provider will give a particular bandwidth, or say a frequency of say 30 megahertz or 30 kilohertz. So this service providers will give a bandwidth, and based on that bandwidth, the communication can take place between this mobile station to a stationary phone, or between a mobile station to another mobile station, and so on. And if the channel is free, or this band is free, then the communication will be established and they can communicate. This is in a brief. So now we'll be discussing about in detail about how this we'll be discussing about the important terms that we call it as the transmitting, receiving, and roaming. What will happen in case of transmitting, receiving, and roaming, that we will be discussing now. So to place a call, what basically you will do whenever you want to connect to another stationary phone or to another mobile station, what basically will do? What is your first task?
Dial a number.
Exactly. So to place a call from a mobile station, the caller, okay, or the person dials a number. So that can be a 7-digit if it is for like a stationary phone, or it can be a 10-digit number for a cell phone, and so on. Again, it depends on whether you are calling it locally or you are calling for other cities, and so on. So you'll be having that number 0831, 0836, and so on. So according to that, you will dial the number. Once that number is dialed, so what basically you are doing, you are just sending some data. So that number what you are dialing, it is like a data or a number. So the mobile station then scans a band. So band is nothing but a channel. So it scans a band and sets up a channel with the nearest base station. So when we are dialing a number, so this mobile phone will scan the band and it will send the number or that particular data to the nearest base station. So there can be different base stations to this neighboring cells can be also present. So it will find that nearest base station and it will connect to that and send the data, that is the phone number. Then what this base station will do, so this base station then takes that particular data, or it relays the data to the MSCs, that is the mobile switching center. So this MSC sends the data onto the telephone office. So our actual phone number that we are dialing, it will be scanned by this MS, that is the mobile station, and that will be sent to the nearest base station. So this nearest base station will take the data, that is the phone number. It will send that data, or it will release that data to the mobile switching center or the MSC. and this MSC sends the data to the PSTN or the telephone office, we can say. So what this will do then? So if the called party is available, so basically when we dial a number and if the called party is available, okay, if that your friend or whomever you're calling, if it is available, then this public switch telephone network PSTN will send that information to the BSC BS that the channel is free or the called party is available. So that information will be sent back to the mobile switching center, and then this mobile switching center will locate or it will give a unused voice channel to this base station, saying that to whomever you are calling, he is free or that person is free, that party is free, and you can connect. So then the communication or the connection can be established. So this is what happens in case of the transmission policy or in this transmission technique. And then this mobile station will adjust the, or it will adjust the tuning, or automatically it will adjust to the that particular channel and the communication can begin. So why this adjustment is required? Because there can be different bandwidths or different channels can be available. So it has to make little adjustment with that particular band or with that particular frequency, and it will establish the connection and the communication can begin in the in terms of transmission. Are we clear with this transmission? What basically happens? How the communication can occur?
Yes, sir.
So can somebody tell me what basically happens in case of transmission or transmitting? Others, are you getting it? So this is a very, very important question for the 5 to 6 marks. So we need to write about what is a cell. Cell is a geographical area or a region that will be represented in a hexagon fashion, and each cell will consist of n number of MSCs, we can say. For in this particular diagram, they have shown only one MSC, but there can be n number of mobile stations, or it is like a moving object. And to that, there can be one BS, that is the base station, which consists of an antenna, and it will be having the, or it will be controlled by the AC power systems, and it may contain some antenna so that the signals can be transmitted to the mobile switching center. So this base station will be controlled by the mobile switching center, and that will be controlled by this PSTN. So when during the transmission, the man, or I mean common man, can dial a number, a 7 or 10 digit number, that is nothing but the data that will be transferred to the nearest base station, and it scans the band, it will send to the nearest base station. So this base station will send that particular data or the number to the mobile switching center, and that data will be transmitted to the or it relays that data to the PSTN. So this PSTN is a computerized automated system, and it will check whether this mobile station or the person whom we have called is available or no, or the party is available or no. If it is available, then it will send a signal saying that yes, that party is available. Then that information will be sent to the base station, and this mobile switching center will provide, or it will give a channel, or it will provide a free channel to the base station so that both the parties can communicate. So this is what basically happens in case of the transmission. What will happen in case of receiving? When a mobile phone is called, that telephone central office sends the number to the MSC. So basically when we are receiving, okay, so how we can receive the call? Basic idea how we'll receive the call. What you will hear, I mean, when you want to receive the call? So you will get a ringing bell or ringtone will appear, and based on that you will receive the call. So before doing that, what will happen? This telephone central office, it sends the number to the MSC, okay, and the MSC searches for the location of the mobile station. So that mobile station, where it is located, so that has to be tracked first by sending a query signal. So this telephone office will send a query signal to it first locates it. So to before it locating, what it will do, it will send a query signal to whom we want to connect, where it is located, whether it is located here, whether our mobile phone is located here or here, it doesn't know. So it sends a query signal, and this concept we call it as a paging. So it sends a query signal to all the nearest cells, and wherever this ms is available or the mobile station is available, it sends a acknowledgement that my region is here, so I am located at this particular area, or I am located at this particular area. So that information will be received back. So once the mobile station is found, the ms transmits a ringing signal. So basically it sends a ringing signal and a voice communication can begin. So this is what basically happens in case of the receiving. Are we getting it?
Yes, sir.
So apart from this, there is another possibility that we call it as the roaming. So what is basically the idea of roaming that you have, or when you have faced this scenario, roaming? Have you heard this or no? There can be like in your
Yes, sir.
roaming charges and all. What are those?
So when you go out of state,
Out of state. So
We should enable the data roaming, sir.
yeah. So what basically it is doing is, assume that you are connected or you are having, or uh, your SIM card is of say Idea, or your SIM card is say of Vodafone, and it is available at Karnataka. So the moment you pass, I'm giving a simple example. If you the moment you pass Nipani or the border of Karnataka hereby, and the moment you enter the other state like Kolhapur and so on, there will be a message you will get. Now you are at roaming. So there, and if you want to connect, there is no nearest telephone service of that you have taken. So if you have taken Vodafone, that is not there, you are at that particular place. So what basically you will do, you will switch to some other telephone service providers. So suppose hey, you may switch to BSNL. So basically you are using your Vodafone, but at that particular moment, since there is no Vodafone service providers in that particular area, so you are taking like on rent basis, you are taking the service of some other uh, like BSNL or say Idea and Reliance and so on. So you're taking from somebody else. So that is what basically happens in case of roaming. Only for that period, your uh, communication will be switched from your original service provider to the some other service providers. That will be depending on the terms and policies of those companies, and so forth. This is what basically happens in case of the roaming. So it is one of the features of cellular telephony. So roaming means in principle that a user can have access to communication or can be reached where there is a coverage. So even whether it is the coverage is of your service provider or whether it is a coverage of some other service providers, but still you can connect and you can communicate. So a service provider usually has a limited coverage. So you have basically a limited coverage, but if you are going out of that boundary, then you have to, or it will be connected to some other service providers and so on. So it is based on the contract basis. So these are the important terms related to this cellular telephony. That is transmission, receiving, and roaming. So what all things you should remember? You should remember about what is a cell, what is a mobile station, what is a base station, and what is the MSC, what is a public switch telephone network. So these are the basic things. And apart from that, you should remember what is transmission, what is receiving, and what is roaming. Very simple things. In the regular way, what you do to get communicated or to get connection should establish, and then you can communicate. Same things have been highlighted in the more proper technical words. So that thing you should remember. Now we'll be discussing about something called as the frequency reuse principle. like in this diagram, you can say that there are different base stations and different mobile stations are available. So there can be n number of mobile stations, and for every region we have a central base station, we can say, and here are the signals that we have. So what basically happens? I mean, so the basic thing here is when the two mobile stations or two phones who are at the boundary side or who are at the boundary, and when they are communicating, the signals may be there can be possibility of a collision between the signals, or if they try to use this same signals, there can be a interference or there can be a disturbance in the communication. Usually this happens when you are communicating with your friend, there can be a problem, or sometimes when you dial a same number but it will go to somebody else, and you'll say that you have called to a wrong number. So what is that scenario basically is all about? So when you are at the boundary and there can be a problem with the collision of these signals, so to avoid that, we use this something called as the frequency reuse principle. So what this basically suggests is, so here we have something called as the frequency reuse patterns. So the frequency reuse pattern consists of combination of different cells, and here we have a pattern. So here there is a pattern of 4 cells, and the same pattern is reused again here, and the n being the reuse factor. So number of cells that we have here, so here this in this pattern we have number of cells as 4, so that defines the reuse factor. So that is the factor as 4. So we can have the frequencies with 1 2 3 4, not more than that, because the number of cells that we have in this particular pattern is 4. And they suggest that, but these frequencies are not too many. There is a restriction of how many frequencies or how many bandwidth you can use. There will be always a restriction. So to avoid this, to have more number of frequencies, it is not possible. But if they are in the same region, we can use the these patterns can be repeated or they can be reused. But when they reuse it, the neighboring cells should not have the same frequency numbers, or they should not have the same frequencies. So that is what we call as the frequency reuse patterns or the frequency reuse principle. So it suggests that the neighboring cells should not have the same frequency levels. So if you observe this, here we have used the frequency number of cells are 4, so that the frequency factor is 4 here. So in this diagram, we have 7 cells, so the reuse factor is 7. So we can have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and so on, not more than that. And if you say that the nearing cells should not have the same frequency, here the frequency is 3, it is 4, here it is 4, it is 2, here it is 1, it is 3, here it is 1, it is 2. So the neighbors cannot have the same frequencies. Again, if they have the same frequencies, there can be a interference or there can be a collision with these signals. So this is the frequency reuse principle or pattern that we have. If you compare this with this, here to separate these cells, we have only one particular cell that is separating. But here from one pattern to another pattern, we have 2 cells that are differentiating. Here in this case, with this particular pattern and with this particular pattern, only one cell is enough to separate it. Again, if you see here we have 2 with yellow color and 4 with pink color. So only one cell is sufficient to separate it. Separate the 2 patterns, we say. So this we call as a pattern. So this is one pattern. Okay, so this is another pattern. The frequencies can be reused in the patterns, but the neighboring cells should not have the same frequency levels. So here there is another pattern. Now the point here is that when we compare this and this, to separate this pattern and this pattern, we have 2 cells which are separating this entire pattern. But here in this case, only 3 is separating 4. And if you compare this with this, only 2 is separating 2 and 4. But here 5 and 4 are separating 7 and so on. So this is what basically we have with related to this frequency reuse principle. Meanwhile, you can give the attendance. So basically, in case of cellular telephony, the cell sizes are not fixed. It depends on the population. See, in case of villages, the number of base stations will be less, but in case of cities, the number of base stations will be more. So the cells are not fixed. The cell size are not fixed and can be increased or decreased depending on the population. So the neighboring cells cannot use the same set of frequencies for communication because it will create the interference. So this basically frequency reuse principle is a configuration of n cells, and n being the factor in which each cell uses a unique set of frequencies. Let me know if you have any doubts. I can connect back if you have any doubts. Is this clear for everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,